Spartans! What is your profession?
What is going on, everybody? We're back at it with another stream, another live, and let's get into this one. Of course, you read the title, you know why you're here. Do I need to get into it? So, this is a part two from last week. The reason we're doing two part two, we just hit the iceberg of what we're really going to be talking about tonight. So, I'm just going to wait for the guys to start showing up, and we're going to get really into it. So, sexual harassment is a big thing in any workplace. It's a serious subject, and we all talk about it. So, hang on one second, guys. Anyway, I don't feel the way they break down the whole sexual harassment is fair. Like, if a woman's hitting on you, but you're in fault, that's not right. Or my favorite one is she's crying wolf, but you are a man, you get executed. They're gonna open an investigation. Okay, so she has friends at work. How's that going to be fair investigation? It's not. It's always a issue with that. That is my personal pet peeve with that. Personal problem. If you, as a company, are serious about sexual harassment, you should be both ways. Right now, it's one sided. As a man, you are a fighting battle. You do not have a chance out there. You are getting crucified right and left. So you cannot sit there and tell me it is a fair statement, a fair fight. It is not. Because some bimbo can make a false statement against you. And that's it. That's all it takes. And it only takes one statement to take you down. To start this whole downward spiral for you. If you even have loved ones at home, a wife or a girlfriend, whatever, and she's hearing you getting fired from sexual harassment, yeah, that's another issue and a half. So let's get the link in the chats and say who wants to jump on to the guys show up. So, actually, let me start throwing some texts out there, see where everybody is, because they're running late. And that's not a good sign. Where is it? Oh. Where are you? So, a part of the conversation we need to have is how do we make these laws or rules better or more fair for us? Link is not working. Why does this do this every time? Paul, you're the only dude that I know has a problem with this link. So we got to talk about this, buddy. All right, man. You got the link now, so it should be up and running in a second. For some reason, you're the only one probably the problem with this. I'm trying to figure why. So I was saying, we have to figure a way to make these laws more fair, more honest. Honest can't be because they're fucking laws, unfortunately. More cut down the middle, straight, honest, fair. Because right now, it's one sided. You can't sit there and tell me these are fair. A woman cries wolf and they take their side. Yes, with the whole me too fucking human bullshit. That's where this all started, my fucking opinion. I have an opinion beyond that. Before Paul goes on, here's my opinion on that. If you felt a certain way after all this time, why wait after all these years to come out? Because you want to go with the movement, you want to follow a trend. You should open your mouth sooner, not 30, 40 years later. Because why wait so long to have a problem with somebody? So yeah, that is. So let's get this guy in here because he needs his intro. As always, rise for elected president, Paul.
What's good, sir?
What's going on, my man? How are you tonight?
I am sore, but
That's a
I'll
good
be
thing.
better.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. I posted a video. I said that I worked out on New Year's Day, so leg day, and paying the price the day after. So there it is.
All right. I assume you read the title so far, right? The
Mm-hmm.
show is about. So I'll give you the floor. Give me your open thoughts.
That's too broad. You got to ask me a specific question.
We're talking about. I really haven't even get into it yet. I was sexual harassment. How can we make it more fair in a way? Because I feel it's one sided right now.
Okay. Hey, shout out to Mandrell in the place. This is one of those subjects where I certainly want to be very careful in what I say. It's a very sensitive topic. Every year that I've worked, probably in the last 15 plus years. I mean, I'm in the corporate world for many years, almost 30 years in corporate, and certainly over the last, say, 15 years or so, every year I've had to take mandatory training when it comes to sexual harassment policies, procedures. Now they've gotten really interactive. Now there's like videos. I mean, to go through the course, like you have to do it like every year, even with the new place I'm at now, you have to go through it every year. And so there's videos that you must watch, and they kind of, you can't just skip through the videos. They have a way of monitoring. So you have to watch the videos, and then they have like quizzes at the end. And you have to get to a certain level of passing before you can go on to the next level and whatnot. So they really are trying to make sure that, hey, Marianne, good evening. They're really trying to make sure that people are taking the topic seriously, and I think it should be taken seriously. So I definitely understand the concerns of it. That being said, when you look at the size of the country, I think it matters. I was just looking at some stats. This is from the Equal Employment Commission. And, so they gather statistics on sexual harassment charges. So they're saying between 2000, let me make sure I get this number right. From 2018 to 2019, there were 27,291 charges of alleged sexual harassment. So that in that 3-year period. Now, what's also interesting in that period, 78.2% of those charges were filed by women in 2018. And what was shocking to me when I saw it was out of that 78% of women who's filing the charges, 71% of them are African American Black women. That I wasn't expecting. For some reason, I was expecting that more white women would have filed those charges. So that kind of took me for a loop a little bit. But even that being said, again, and that's a lot of, numerically, that's a lot of cases, and that's a lot of people, and that's a lot of things going on. But over the overall workplace, that's not that many people. This is a big country. It's 300, almost 50 million people in it. And, so I don't think it goes on to the degree that it is amplified sometimes. And I'm not taking away from anyone's personal story, whether they have been harassed or if you've been on the other end and have been accused of it. I'm not taking away from anyone's individual story. If it's happened to you on either side it's on, I think that's terrible. And I think certainly, all measures should be done to be able to validate someone's story or claims. I think such claims should be taken seriously. And, I don't want, anybody's personal story to be minimized. But it's a relatively small number overall. I think what's happened certainly in the last few years when you have these high profile people who've been brought up on such things and, sex trafficking and all these other things that are out, I think it amplifies it to such an extent that people think, oh, this is happening to all men, or it's happening, all over the place. And I don't think it is. Again, and I can only go on, and this is, like I said, this is the sensitivity and the subjectiveness of it. I can only go on what I've seen and observed. I've never seen anybody accused of that, and certainly in my work profession, I've never seen anybody where that's been done to. And if it did happen, I shouldn't know about it. I mean, if the company's doing their job right. So I have to, certainly, but I'm saying all this to say I don't want to kind of rage out on something that, one, is not my experience, and secondly, that is something that statistically overall doesn't happen often. I think most men and women are pretty good at behaving themselves. And fortunately, when you have these cases, I mean, people think this is like Mad Men. I don't know if you ever watched that series, Grooming, Mad Men, that basically played like a 60s culture, corporate culture and whatnot. And basically the men were essentially, they just felt that they had access to any woman that worked for them. Secretaries, or, it's always like it was part of the job.
No,
That you
but I
had
watched
to.
a show called Sons of Anarchy. That was similar to what you're talking about.
Mhm.
Like,
But this
snap
was
their
like a
finger, they
corporate,
can
this
have.
was like a 60, it was set in the 60s, and it was like a corporate culture. I don't know, it was like an ad agency or something like that. And just the hanky panky, as they, as they used to call it, that went on in the office was
Funny.
pretty rampant, and it was almost expected. The women there, they kind of knew it. Look, if I want to keep my job, certain things need to go on, whether they liked it or not. It's just, it's just the game that you played in. If you want to, or if you wanted to advance in your career, there were just certain things that were expected. I just don't think it's happening to that large extent, to the fact that, I'm going to just throw all my rage behind it and say, oh, yeah, this is horrible and we need to do something about it or whatever. I just don't think it happens as those, even though those numbers are quite large. And to an extent, I should take it personally because, again, I have 3 daughters. So if you're saying that's almost 70, it's over 71% of this case being filed is by Black women, yeah, I would, to some extent, I'll take an interest in it, but I just don't think it's happening to that to that degree. The only thing I would say about it, obviously, it's subjective, and obviously, I think it, how it's handled, depending on the role, I think is certainly different. I did know a friend of mine who, by today's standards, may have been harassed. Again, this is a man, and he had a very aggressive boss who constantly asked him out on dates, and he repeatedly said no. Now, again, he's a big guy, kind of big like myself or whatever. It's not like, he was in fear of his life or anything like that. And he had a way of handling that. And, it just wouldn't be in that context. Even today, I don't know how much it would be considered to be harassment, or even if guys, if that was happening to you, because again, women are in the corporate office now, women are supervisors now, their heads, their CEOs, their VPs, all at all levels, they're in the corporate work environment. Again, would a man's claim be taken as seriously as a woman's? Again, even by the statistics, they say 78.2% of the claims were filed by women, which means almost 22% were filed by men.
Mm-hmm.
But is the company going to take the man's claims as seriously as the woman's? I don't have any data or anything to back that up. I can kind of go with assumption that it may not be, or that the attitude of the guy would be, hey, you know what, your sexual harassment, go to HR. I don't know if, how many guys think like that. And so it's I don't think it's necessarily an even playing field in that regard. But again, I just really, with this, I really try to play within the lines of what is taught. Like I said, what corporate policy is. I admit, certainly, as I explained, I think it was on the last show that I was on. I did meet my wife in a work environment. The good thing was that it was such a big company, we didn't work in the same area, so it wasn't like we had any issues in terms of a working relationship, because we didn't have one. And I think I said, certainly in 2024, if that came up again, I don't know if I would do it. I think I gave last time when I was talking about how I interact with women, how I set, parameters. I try my best, unless it's necessary, to be in a one-on-one presence with someone who's not my wife. I don't think I would date someone from the office. I don't think you feed where you're planted. So I think, certainly your workplace, I think, there's other places to meet women. I don't think you necessarily have to meet them there. I even said, even your church, which for a long time I thought that was the perfect place. I mean, why not meet somebody who you're worshiping with, shares your values? But that can get kind of messy too, especially if things don't work out. Because again, everybody tends to know your business. So even in church, and I've had sexual harassment training in church, because again, I served on a board. I served, in church leadership, steward, trustee kind of roles, and it had to be for us also that we need to do that. And again, just how you govern affairs. There's been a lot of scandals with pastors and parishioners and things of that nature. So even that environment doesn't seem to be ideal to meet someone these days, because again, you just don't know how things will work out, or what I would suggest, certainly in a church setting, I would say is, I think singles ministries need to be a lot more direct in terms of what you're meeting for. And certainly if there is going to be a sort of dating arrangement, I think that should be known, just like in corporate environments. Like if you do decide, if your corporate office does allow you to date someone in the office, they said the thing to do, you need to tell your supervisor about it, just so that they're covered. And I think the same thing like in a church setting. If you're parishioners and you decide to date, I think you should let your pastor know, just so that everything's above board, and that nothing, everyone's kind of being held accountable to an extent. So I think there's ways you can operate, but generally speaking, yeah, go in, do your job, to the best of your abilities and whatnot. Keep gatherings public, or groups, stay in groups, not too much one-on-one interaction, where you're by yourselves. And I think, that'll do a lot to sort of cover yourself when it comes to these things, should you either be accused or things get, uncomfortable. And because again, a lot of this stuff is perception. Like, it's not so much what is actually done, is a lot of it's how a person feels. And because of that, that's why I kind of take a step back approach. I'm more conservative in how I move rather than, find myself in positions where it's like it's a he said, she said kind of thing. And, just looking at me, being an African American man, and especially if it's if it's someone who's, of another ethnicity or whatever, it can just get dicey. So I guess I still kind of have that precautionary, there's a lot of what they call Karens out there. And so I've always just moved very conservatively in that space. But as far as any kind of movement to say, how do you combat this and those sort of things, or guys talking about, getting a men's movement together and we need to contact our politicians and do stuff. I don't know. I'm not, um, I'm not, necessarily feeling that per se, because again, overall, I don't think it happens that often, but maybe it does. Just people don't talk about it. But again, that's kind of my 2 cents on it.
So where I'm gonna push back, Paul, is it happens more often than you think, but not for real statements like Cash Shed right here. People like playing the victim when they're not. In my case, for example, I parked next to somebody and she cried sexual harassment. I was stalking her and all that bullshit.
It's terrible. Terrible.
Yeah. So we're outnumbered. Let's be honest here on that point. Because most companies won't take a man's side; they will take a woman's side. It doesn't matter race, race or color at that point. If you hear sexual harassment from a man on a woman, he's out. Now, how often do a man report sexual harassment? The question is now.
Well, then that's the stat that I quoted. So it says out of claims incident again between 2018 and 2021, 78.2% of sexual harassment claims were by women. So you talk about a 78. So it's basically 22% of men have at least filed. Now that doesn't even get into whether or not they've been proven or not, or whether or not there's been actions that have been taken or not. Because some of the stuff you just blow over. So that we checked it out, it's not true or whatever, or we don't have that information because a lot of that information is confidential. So again, I can't say course, yeah. in that case what the outcome that is. All you do is you make the claim, and then there's an internal process that goes on that again should be private. But as far as what the outcomes of that is, I don't know. But I certainly agree, at least anecdotally, at least my gut is that a man's claim is not going to be taken as seriously as a woman's, or that even a man takes it that way. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, most guys, if a woman shows interest in you, now you might not be interested, but how often does a guy feel threatened by that? So some guys think it's flattery. It's like, oh yeah, you trying to get me? It's like, no. And like I said, my friend, he kind of laughed at it. Like he would tell me, yeah, she just constantly just says. I was like, no, we work together. No, I don't want to do it. But he was kind of like, he wasn't upset. He wasn't in fear of his job. He wasn't whatever. It just, look, I'm just not interested in you. Mm-hmm. But it didn't stop him from working. In fact, if I recall, this same woman was actually at his wedding when he did get married. She was at his wedding because again, they had kind of this friendly relationship, and I guess he had to get married in order for her to stop chasing after him. But it was kind of like a ha kind of thing. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm just not into you, And I looked at her and say, yeah, I wouldn't be interested in her either. But she was, she was just very aggressive. But do men look at that aggression in the same way as if it's the other way around, where a woman is being actively pursued by work, if a guy's asking you out or telling you things, or how commenting on your body or whatever they're saying, in that case, do women take it the same way? And again, I want to be sensitive to that. But as far as the false accusations that have taken place, Yeah, horrible. And you know, and again, for me, the only protection is, again, to pull yourself away from the situation, or don't allow a situation to take place. Your situation, I don't know if could have been avoided, but
Mine?
as far as a corporate policy that could be done, I don't know. I mean, I got to be honest about that.
But again, every company has different corporate policies. That's the issue. None of them are straight across the board. Like, okay, here's federal law. Sexual harassment will be like this. Not parking next to somebody, for example. Like, it should be, I don't
Yeah,
know,
except
more.
your case is ridiculous. I mean, I mean
Everybody
it's
said,
just you know, and you know, and I'm glad well, I'm sorry, can you remind me what ultimately happened in that case? Were you let go, or was
yeah, I
it
was terminated.
you were terminated? Horrible. I mean,
Yeah.
I just um you know, but at the same time, now again, leading up to that, did you have an argument with this woman? Was it a
No.
dispute? Was it was just you pulled up next to her
I
and
parked. Okay, so I usually went dinner from between 9 and 10 o'clock usually, right? I parked in the same spot. At this moment, St. Luke's Anderson campus in Bethlehem is on major construction because they're moving their main hospital, Allentown, to Bethlehem because they have more property.
Mhm.
So on their major construction, so the parking is very scarce. At the time, employees park in the back, or where everybody comes in through the gym area, where it's
Mhm.
physical therapy and all that stuff.
Mhm.
So, by that said, now by the time I get there and she gets there, it's scarce parking. I mean, it's nitpicking. You're fighting for any kind of parking you can get. So usually it's all the way in the end, 2 to 4 spots, and usually 2 4 spots are where I parked and she parked.
Mhm.
So I pulled in, parked there, not my business. She parked next to me. I went, and the jokes started coming around. Everybody's seeing that, and like, oh, he's parking next to Irene. I go, no, Irene's next parking to me. Get it straight. And that's the joke went around. And I fixed that. Oh, Irene's parking next to Pete. She Something went on her head, her crazy little fucking dumb ass, stupid bitch ahead, and
Mhm.
went down to HR.
Mhm.
And I had managers fighting this. I'm like, no, he didn't do nothing on his park. You can't fire him for parking. Like, yeah, we can. I go, it's because there's sex harassment. He can park somewhere else. But that's the only parking left. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, that's a pretty crappy policy. I think that the investigation it has to go just beyond just someone's word saying something. I just think I think that's ridiculous. And again, better HR divisions handle that differently, but just based on an accusation. Now, again, if you wanted to, but here's the thing. Also, it's you know how much of this you want to fight. I mean, you could have got a lawyer. You could have got
Oh, I tried
a
that. Don't forget it. I'm on a
what
free
happened?
state
Yeah,
will.
refresh me again. So what happened in
Yeah,
that?
because I'm a free state will state. I have no right to that. Now, if they fired me for my tattoos or racism or my disability, I had a case on the spot.
Mhm.
But because we don't have any cameras in the kitchen, it's so ridiculous. I don't understand why I don't have cameras in the kitchens.
Yeah,
That's
you really need to do that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, in every kitchen, it's the same concept of question I ask: why don't we have cameras in the kitchen?
Mhm.
Why don't we have cameras in the kitchen? Because good example. I know this kid, mind his own business. Just hop behind. All the kids had earplugs in, and I used to send them home every time I see earplugs. You're off the clock. Get out. Go home. You're done for the day. Because that is a safety concern at this point. Because I
Mhm.
could have a knife. Next minute you're stabbed or burned. So this little girl backed up. He put his hand up like, "Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa! I got to burn. I don't want to burn you." Try not to burn her because he put his hand on her back because of that sexual harassment.
Mhm.
And that's a very fine line when it comes to kitchens with sexual harassment because you're so close to each other. You're like, well, it's size of where my office sometimes is. You're in
Mhm.
a very, very small distance.
Mhm.
Anybody who has worked in any type of kitchen knows how small quarters. I believe
Oh yeah,
Mariana is
look,
in this conversation.
I worked at a McDonald's for 4 years.
You have a small idea then.
Yeah, but again, it was just a different time. Now, again, one, we were kids. there'll be a lot of
Goofing around,
hanky panky,
touching.
so to speak. I mean, just stuff that people would do or whatever.
Your hands wandered.
Yes. So I mean, just stuff that would just go on. Some people would date there and stuff. I mean, it was way looser environment than than today.
Dude, I worked in bars, for example. When for years ago, early 2000s, I walked into the freezer. Keyword freezer, and they're getting it on. I'm like, oh, hello, close the door.
That's crazy.
I'm like, why a freezer? You want to go get more comfortable in the office? Like, yeah, okay, never mind. I'm like, I've seen some crazy shit in my field. I have seen people do a line of blow on the middle of the prep table, and like, I want to.
Yeah.
Like, I seen a lot of crazy shit. This feels crazy. It's not as you see on TV with Gordon, the way most kitchens are fucking filthy, to be honest with you. They're disgusting, most of the kitchens. That's why I don't even eat half out of the kitchens. People are like, why didn't you eat out of the kitchen? Like, have you been in a kitchen? Good point. They go with me. It's rare when I do. But there are very nasty kitchens most times. But the point that I'm trying to get to right now is definitely in kitchen, we're such a close quarters work environment. Don't you think that's where it became like, oh, he's actually putting his back to not to burn the young lady? Okay,
oh, it's like, good. Oh, excuse me, can I get by? Excuse me, like, yeah. I mean, like I said, that was the last time I was in an environment like that. Like I said, I haven't seen anything like that in a corporate office business environment, which is where, again, the last 30 plus years I've been in that environment. So I haven't seen anything close to that. I've heard of office romances. I've heard of, affairs and things of that nature. But in that setting where everybody's kind of like public and everybody's seeing what's going on, it's like I said, I haven't seen it. So, and then again, that doesn't mean that it's not happening or whatever. Like I said, I shouldn't know that if it did happen, I shouldn't know anything about it. If the corporate HR is doing their job. But you have to be mindful not only of the touching, you have to be mindful of the words that you say. So again, back in the day, like I said, work jobs, you say all kinds of off-color jokes. Talk about her body. Talk about this. Talk about that. I mean,
looking is also going to get you in trouble too.
Exactly. I'm saying nothing was off limits when we were, teenagers in there and talking about this, that, and the third. I mean, it was like, again, no holds barred. Again, but today in the office, like they say, you can't even say, or you shouldn't even say, hey, that's a nice dress you have on. Again, I avoid, even though I've said it in the past early on, but again, just when you watch these training videos and things of that nature, and you start to see like a kind of the message that they're promoting, you say, hey, you know what? I'm going to take what you guys are saying, and I'm going to take it that much further, and say, hey, so rarely do I even compliment women anymore. You got a new hairstyle. Hey, that's, I try
to be very cautious when I
don't say any of that stuff. You know what I mean?
It depends on the level. I know the person. If it's like, oh, like one of my coworkers had a new hairdress, like a hairstyle, like some random person, and I've been working there for a long time, and I know her very well. I go, hey, that looks nice to you, and that's in. Keep it moving. But I have to know you very, very, very well,
right?
And to say that, and like like when I shaved my beard completely off, I walked in like people are like, did you have a fight a weed whacker? Like, oh, here we go. There are fucking jokes here now.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
But you see, a guy's not going to be. It doesn't matter. More times than not, it doesn't matter what you say to a guy. If you say to a guy, hey, that's a nice suit you got on. That's a nice pants. That's a nice haircut. That's a nice style. Hey, I like your, again, most guys are not going to bat an eye at that. And I would even say that most women wouldn't. Like I said, even though the stat is relatively high, it's in the tens of thousands of claims. I don't think it happens to most even women. But certainly, if something's going to be filed, then more than likely it's going to be by a woman.
I agree.
And to your point, why even put yourself in a situation where you could be even accused of something like that? Like I said, I don't even is that it gets to the point now. It's like, let's say if I'm waiting for the elevator, I may wait for the next elevator. If it's one, if it's just one-on-one, and I don't know you very well, then I may wait for the other one. Or there's a case like when I leave my building, there's a parking garage, and so you walk up like a flight of stairs. If let's say we're both leaving at the same time, I get out in front of you and go upstairs, or if you're already on the stairs, I'm going to wait until you get to the level that you're at before I start on the stairs. I'm not going to be like 3 or 4 steps behind you as we're walking up. One time I did that back in corporate, and the woman almost subconsciously, she was like, and I guess she had I don't know if she had a skirt on or something, and she did like subconsciously, she put her hand behind her back and kind of put her
cover herself up, kind of.
Yeah, as if I'm saying, okay, like I'm looking at your dress, or I'm trying to look up your dress. If anything, you
probably just do that normally too. So keep
but
that in
I'm
mind.
just saying, not when no one's present, or not when a woman's present. I haven't seen it. I'm just saying the fact that I was, like I said, it's like, like a landing is typically like 4 or 5 steps, and then it wraps, and then it goes up another one. So I was like within a landing apart from her, and she was kind of doing that subconsciously to say, I don't want you up. So I was like, you know what? You go all the way upstairs. I'll wait until you're up the stairs, and then I'll go and then I'll go afterwards. Or like I said, if we get near first, I will go first. Because I'm typically, when I'm going upstairs, I like to go upstairs pretty fast. I'm not a slow stair walking guy. I'll take 2 steps
I'm a fast
at a time,
walker too.
and I just walk. Yeah, I kind of run upstairs usually.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
It's almost like a form of exercise to an extent.
So I want to bring this example up because this actually happened with my workers years ago. So my workers were they're texting back and forth, right? Boom, boom. A girl was one of the other girls at the can't remember where, at the office building I was working at the time, right? And I go to them, dude, be careful of that. If they get caught and she pissed her off and reports you sex harassment, I can't save your ass.
Mm-hmm.
He was smart. I'll tell you what. He saved all the text messages. Every single message he had is saved on his phone.
Mm-hmm.
And they got pulled in the office. I got pulled in the office. He goes, they asked me, sorry, are you texting this person? Yes. He goes, okay, thank you for being honest, obviously. And every question he said truthfully. And then towards the end, he goes, oh, you're not suspending me just like that. He goes, excuse me? The person goes, I'm like, I got all the proof right here. And she goes, this HR goes, can I see it? Like, well, here's the problem there. I guess I'm a little inappropriate text message. And they're like, I can't, I have to see him. I go, okay, enjoy the view. He goes, I'm like, oh, great, he's going to get fucking fired. Just the comments he was making at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, because he knew he had the upper hand. He sees like, she's going through like, oh, she sent you all these text messages first. She reached out to you first. She texts you always first. I went, oh, that saved his ass completely. A week later, they suspended him, came back, and goes, they could not bring him back because all the proof he had on his phone saying she reached out to him first, always.
Mm-hmm.
And when they questioned, like, yeah, we're friends, we're texting, like, no. You said one thing, but it's actually the opposite. We want the truth now. She came this close to getting fired, but they never fired her for statements.
Yeah, it's tough. Yes, yeah. That, like I said, that's a tough. Like I said, more times than not, she may get the benefit of the doubt over him, even if she's kind of caught. Like even what was that case with Johnny Depp over the summer?
Oh, his wife, ex-wife.
That was his wife.
Yeah, ex-wife.
Ex-wife. Okay.
Yeah,
but again, even though
ex-wife.
I think she was found in the case lying or proven lying in the case or whatever. I don't think anything's going to happen to her.
No.
Now, I don't think anything happened in her career. I think she was in the Aquaman. Was she in the Aquaman sequel? I think so.
Actually, I don't remember that.
I think so. But again, it's like I said, my main thing is I'm about trying to protect the man, and for me, the best protection is how you personally carry yourself. Unless you're going to say we need to put a camera in every room, every bathroom, every kitchen, every office, and whatnot. That's the only way I can see if you want to try to do it on that level. Otherwise, and then even then, people are going to complain. It's like, hey, my privacy is being violated because I got cameras on me all the time. So again, how are people going to look at that when they say, "Hey, man, I got this camera, looking at everything I do 24/7."
And it's funny you said that because I was joking around with my bosses one time, like, you're kind of going like this, like, okay, who's right? Who's right? He got mad. Like, take the camera off me. I go, like, you get recorded anyway, dude. What's the big deal? But I find out later on, he got fired after I was fired at St. Luke's, same way, because he couldn't do the right thing. He goes, and I mentioned about the camera, like, I don't want cameras in here. You know how much shit I do in here and is illegal? Like eating on the line. You're not supposed to eat on the fucking line. That's cross-examination. I don't use gloves when I'm cooking, he goes. You know how much shit I could get into?
Yeah.
I go, that's my point.
Right. So,
Like,
you're gonna run into a violation if that happens. Now, again, would a camera have helped you in that situation if they
Absolutely.
had parking lot cameras?
Yeah.
And they could have saw that you basically got out of your car and you walked off and you did your business or whatever. Yeah, that would have helped in that situation. But is that what we're becoming, or is that what we want? Because everyone now is already talking about, talk about the NSA and all these companies. Like every move is monitored. Like they got cameras on everything. That's why, again, I'm not necessarily opposed to it, but I know a lot of people talk about freedom and a lot of people talk about, privacy and whatnot. But again, every time there's like one of these bombings or one of these things or whatever, they got like 20 million cameras. I mean, it's like, everything that you're doing is being recorded in one way or another. If they really want to find out what's going on, they got satellites, they got cameras posted everywhere. Everything is out there. If the offense is egregious enough, or they say, hey, you know what, this is national security, and I think all bets are off. If what happened to you was a national security thing, I think there's a camera that was probably out there that probably saw what was going on.
It's funny because people give me shit for this all the time. I do this for my safety, my mother's safety, because I live in an apartment. So I have people coming in and out of my apartment all the time. So I want to make sure whoever comes to my apartment is not going to kick my dog across the goddamn room or put my hands on my mother, because whoever does that is going to probably regret that really bad. But good thing I did. I'll tell you what. I have one camera at the door. I have one when you first walk in, one in the kitchen, and one in each bedroom. People say, come on, that's too much. No, cameras get turned off. I have away mode and on mode. When I'm home, they're off. But when I'm away, I want to know what's going on in my fucking house. I'll tell you why I have this good thing I had a camera. One day I received a letter, a complaint about Alex barking. I'm like, seriously, he's a fucking dog. Come on now. He's a beagle. He doesn't bark in the middle of the night. He barks during the day because he sees somebody at the door. It's normal beagle behavior. Right. Am I right or wrong?
Right.
So because the landlord who rents this has a management company. So the assistant manager had the balls come walking through my lobby saying, shut your fucking dog up. You can get a letter tomorrow. And I didn't realize that. I usually check the cameras once every so often. And a good thing I did. I go, really? So when I got in the argument with the property manager, says, why your fucking assistant's threatening me? Oh, hey, no. Shut the fuck up, I went to her. I have the proof right here. When I showed her the proof, she goes, her mouth dropped to her on the floor like, so what's his fucking problem with me? We can go outside and handle like men? Or he can be a bitch. Which one is it? She didn't say a word. So I give you 24 hours to handle this. She didn't handle it in 24 hours. So I went to her boss. And now I open a big can of worms to the point like, he sees me. Now he's being super nice to me for some reason. More nicer than any man ever been to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I wonder why, Bahal, right?
Yeah.
If I didn't have the cameras.
It's unfortunate you got to go to those extremes. But again, is that what we want? Right? Just a societal question.
Honestly, no, I don't think
you want
that's what you
everything. Want. Now, let me ask you this. Because I've heard, I'm not a big conspiracy theory guy. I know there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there, but
I think
they say that your phones, even if it's turned off, is recording everything you're doing anyway. So I don't know. I mean,
so let's turn the clock back for a second. Edward Snowden did a whistleblower. We all know that.
Right.
Did they used to do at one point with the cameras? Yes. Not to me and you, an average Joe who's like, you're an IT and a cook. They're not going to go after. They're talking about people who are like mafiosos. We're talking about people in the government, people, cops, stuff like that. They were monitoring people like that. Illegally, by the way. But when he whistleblowed, it opened this big can of worms. And ever since then, I go, okay, now they need a warrant to do that too. That's one thing about Apple. People don't understand. With an Android, They don't need a warrant. They can hack the phone very easily.
Yeah. Apple phone. Yeah, they've had, and I think the government has gone up against Apple. I think on more than one occasion in terms of Apple
several
refusing.
times. They're against them right now, actually.
Yeah, refusing to open up their phones because they protect people's security. I mean, that's one reason I'm surprised that more people aren't Apple. Even that you can say Apple's crap now; it's not as good as it used to be, or whatever. But then they say, hey, Apple. They put all that priority on protecting your privacy and information and open up your phones. I would think that'd be a marketing thing. So Mandrell is saying that they record even if your phone is turned off.
Mandrell, get your ass up here.
That they still record. That they still record your movements.
From my understanding, they need a warrant to do that now. Paperwork. They can't just go. Boop, 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 boop. That's from my understanding. From from my cousin who's retired cop before we stopped talking, to when I worked at the correction officers. I talked to them, a lot of those guys. So that, here's a funny thing that brought up. Hang on. Let's see what he commented before we move on.
But they won't crack over the phone. So again, give them credit for that at least, right?
There's gonna be a fight. We're gonna have an Apple versus a.
I'm not getting on it. We did one of those already. Again,
Android?
There was me.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, we did.
Not in this show.
I think it was only a Hangout show. We did Apple versus Android. It was something that went on, and it was just it got nowhere.
We didn't. We didn't do a show like that yet.
I'm pretty sure we did.
Go back I go look back at the library. I'm telling you, brother. Like me, I don't do episodes like that. But hang on. So
he said he's coming. So
I saw that. So on the CEO, when I became the supervisor at the correction officer, Monroe County Correction Facility, I went through the security check and all everything. So I had to go through training. Finally, their sexual harassment is funny as fuck. It says we approve of COs dating COs. I'm looking at it like this. I look at the guy like this is a joke. You guys are playing a joke on a new guy. Like, no, keep watching. He goes to me, but we do not recommend you sleeping with an inmate. That is illegal. I'm go, you're fucking with me right now, dude. You gotta be fucking with me. He goes, no, keep watching. He goes, well, if a woman says, keep her hands off her, all this stuff, I go, you're fucking with me right now. You gotta be fucking with me. He goes, nope, it's just like that. So,
well, we have the chief conspiracy theorist himself on with us right now. So, Mandrell,
hey, how's it going, guys?
See you. Happy
Hey, what's
New
going
Year.
right, man? How are you tonight?
Happy New Year, everybody.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's right.
So again, I'm not. I don't want to devolve this into a technology conversation. Now, obviously, the topic tonight is sexual harassment.
No problem.
And we're talking about how the best ways we can certainly protect ourselves and whatnot. And so the question is, it seems like, are we coming to an age now where you need a camera in every room, bathroom, kitchen, wherever? Does everybody need to be listening to everybody in order for a person to be able to prove their innocence when it comes to claims or what have you? Or is there another way forward? I know you've been in the military. I'm sure you've been exposed to different trainings when it comes to sexual harassment. So, your experience with the matter, and is technology, is that ultimately the right way to go? And if we do go that way, then do we have to give up some of our privacy in order to, to have to protect ourselves? Because it seems like that seems to be where everything's going now.
Yeah, you're gonna have to give up some privacy for security. Unfortunately, you know what I mean? But there's too many bad apples out there, and people do what they do because they have no fear of consequences. So if there are consequences, and then there's proof, which you have to, there's no better proof than video and audio.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Well, if you have that, then there's no arguing. Just show the video. Like, I was watching this video. Ice-T got pulled over by a cop, and the cop clearly lied. Like the actual actor Ice-T from Law and Order SVU, the officer clearly lied, like flat out, and it was all because of the camera, the vest camera. That is like, okay, and that's the only footage I saw was the vest cam footage.
Mm.
I was like, wait a minute, hold on. You just lied. But then another cop comes up, and that's when the cop lies. But then he let him go. He gave him some tickets because of whatever. But yeah, if it weren't for that dash cam footage or the vest footage, it's my word against yours. And the cops always
So
gonna
the
win.
body cam saved his ass.
Yeah, the body cam saved Ice-T from
That's the
that
next
cop
thing I want to
lying.
invest. Actually, I want to get myself a dash cam for my car too, because so much shit goes on the road too. Think about it.
My wife just got one, and I installed it. Merry Christmas to me, right? So
You wanted to be their husband, so I don't feel bad.
right. This is the dash cam footage. It's the dash cam, and there's a rear cam too. So I mean, I had to install that whole thing. So
Wow.
Happy New Year.
Wow.
Yeah, but yeah, that's
So
I've
just
been,
on the topic,
yeah.
one of the observations I was noticing earlier is like, I mean, obviously we treat this subject very different based on the sexes. Now, again, we got about 22% of men, if there are sexual harassment claims, again, it's just based on some federal statistics here, about 22% are filed by men. Do we take those claims as seriously, or do men, do we even take the even if it is outright harassment, do we take it as seriously as when it's done to a woman? I mean, in my experience, most guys, it's almost a form of flattery, but it has. I can't say, unless I see, if you're married and someone's like reaching for your Johnson or something like that, I can't see a lot of guys who are taking that in such a way. It's like, oh, I need to report this or what have you. At least that's been my experience. But again, I haven't seen a lot. Certainly in my experience, but from what you've seen regarding that, have you seen a lot of men, even if it's blatant? But how do you think men see it versus how a woman may see it?
Yeah, I agree with you. Men see it as a form of flattery when women do things like that. And most men don't even report it because we know that it's not going to be taken seriously. Wait, so a woman grabbed your ass and you reported it? Why? Shamefully to say, that would be my actual reaction. Like Mr. Bennett, if either one of you told me, hey man, this shit grabbed my ass, I reported her. Why? Why would you? For what? You know what I'm saying? Like that would be a genuine reaction. I'd love to know why.
Now,
But
how would you, now that you are a married man? Now, my pushback may be, look, I'm a married man, and she knew that I was a married man, and she went and did that to me. And so, yeah, I'm going to report it. And again, if my wife ever found out that happened, and if I didn't report it, then I'm going to have a problem at home because why you? Because obviously she's not going to say, I can't.
Right.
I'm not going to strike her or anything like that. I'm not going to do anything violent. But my wife may expect me to take some action, if anything, or if anything, I may go to her and say, look, the woman, she did that, and if it's someone we know, then my wife is going, all right, where is she? Then she gonna do what she gonna
Mine would too.
we gonna handle this. You know what I'm saying?
Mine would
But
too.
in a corporate situation, yeah, I think my wife would feel a certain way if I just said, oh, there was nothing. I was actually flattered by it. I mean, so now that you, as a married man, right, and that happened to you, which is likely, you are a very handsome man, well built and all that, so I'm sure it's not out of the realm that a woman would do that to you. Now that you have a Mrs. Mandrell, hey, I don't know if you can keep that same attitude or that same energy.
Same answer. It's not the same answer because you're 100% right. Your wife is gonna expect you to take some form of action, and reporting it is just step one. You want to keep as many problems out of your household as you possibly can.
So let me cut you guys off a second. I just did a quick search online to see how many men actually report sexual harassment. It's only 1%. And that's straight men. Now, bisexual men or gay men are a whole different thing. That number is high, like 20 to 30% for them. But a single man will not report it. Married men, only 2% were married. Let's say out of 10 people. So they take it like, oh, I'm still getting hit on. Maybe, I can get a little some ass on the side kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? So it's less common coming from men. And that's one of those things. It's weird. Trey, what's up, coach? You haven't not shown your face in a while around here.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year, man.
How you going, my man? How are you tonight?
Yeah, man. Life be lifing, man. I appreciate still being able to, keep moving around, so.
With a walker?
No, not yet.
So,
But yeah, I'm with you on that because it's just you want to make your spouse feel as secure as you possibly can too, at all times, if possible. So it's, if you're married, that's when you have to swing into action. There, if you're a single guy, I mean, what's the point?
Yeah, I had to tell Trey, Coach Ferg, I had to tell my wife. Now, obviously, it looks like I may have a stalker, right? So we also, you were on the barbershop on Friday, so you saw the comments that were being made. First thing I did after the show was over, I played this clip to my wife, and she was like,
she laughed.
First, I don't know if it's her, I don't know if it's a him, because again, the person didn't show themselves. There was no pictures, there was nothing. So I don't know if it's a guy, it's a girl, it's a ID. I don't know anything. I just know that stuff went on. So I was like, here it is. Just to let her know that I wasn't egging it on. I wasn't saying, oh, this is so nice. I got a fan. Oh, look at what she said. I didn't say any of that. And I was like, look,
hey, he can be a dude, bro.
I just kind of left it alone.
Paul, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. A guy knocks on your door. You open it. He goes, "Oh, it's me, your stalker. Come on, let's go in the back seat really fast."
See, it's a guy that does that?
Oh, God, he's German. He's got the Arnold accent.
Yeah, he's a big guy, muscular.
I'm looking at you over there.
Yeah, he wants to take you in the back seat and take care of some business with you.
Oh,
how would you handle that, Paul?
By any means necessary, but I mean, obviously, I'm not. That's a totally different. But
you're a big motherfucker, but I'm not going back there.
But yeah, but that's real. But if it's like I said, if it's a woman, yeah, I don't, anyone. If a woman pays me a compliment, I'll when I get home, yeah, I was at the store and this woman came up to me and she said this, and my wife, sometimes she look at it playfully, sometimes she's like, no, she better go somewhere, mess with my man. That eye kind of gets up a little bit, But now, having said that, there've been times, especially early on in our marriage, where it'd be like she'd be at the gym. It's like, oh yeah, I was at the gym, and this guy tried to talk to me and stuff, and said, "Sorry, you're married and whatnot." And for me, that's my ego gets stroked. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, I know I got a baddie, but she's mine. So I never tripped about somebody flirting with my wife or trying to talk to my wife or whatever. Well, guys, I said, look, you can look all you want. We go into a room, they look at her, it's like, man, you can look all you want. I know she's going home with me. And that's all that matters.
Here's my issue with that, Paul. Some men don't know when to say no is no. And they keep pushing, oh, come on, he won't ever find out. And like, yeah, he will. Because I'm going to tell him, because he's going to kick your fucking ass after when he finds out.
If she doesn't do it first.
But, I'm sorry?
If she doesn't do it first.
Absolutely.
So I'm just saying, but in general, I mean, some people are jealous like that. It's like, don't be looking at my wife, and I've never been that kind of guy. It's like, look, if you find my wife attractive, then it proves your intelligence. And so I never flexed on that sort of thing, But again, if she says no, when you say no means no. So if she says no, I'm married or whatever, keep it moving. But if it escalates, and if it gets to me that it escalates, then I might have to demonstrate in that situation. But again, that situation though, for me, it's always been a thing. I keep very short accounts. So if a woman, I was at one time we were checking into a hotel, and the woman at the counter again paid me a compliment. My wife was right there. She kind of, I kind of give her kind of that spry kind of smile. I said, yeah, but she wasn't feeling it. so I just keep short accounts, man. I just do. And like I said, if that is happening to you at work or whatever, then yeah, I think as a married man, I think it's in your best interest long term that you handle it in the ways that are available to you to handle it, to make sure that the home life is protected.
Mm-hmm.
Coach, but I'm gonna get on this conversation. So again, we're talking about this idea of sexual harassment, but we're also talking about this in terms of also security. Like, what are the means that I've talked about? Just how I move personally to stay away from situations, from saying things, from being in situations that that doesn't even have to come up, which it doesn't, and it doesn't come up often. Still looking at the stats, it doesn't happen often.
No, it's the same thing. If you remember, we spoke about this a while back about men getting abused. Men don't report getting beat the shit out of from their wives. Like, I was at a case. No joke. My cousin, he's about 6'5", almost 300 pounds, and he got this little Puerto Rican woman, about 5'8", 120 pounds almost, whipped his ass. And I remember the judge calling him up, like, Mr. Rosales, like, sir, Mrs. I can remember her last name. I'm like, wait a minute. She abused you? Uh-huh. You mean that little girl beat the crap out of you? Uh-huh. The judge was trying not to laugh. He goes, I'm dismissing this whole case. This is ridiculous. He goes, I don't believe this. And my cousin was busted open and everything. I'm like, man, that girl messed him up. But again, it goes under the same thing. Men don't report a lot of things. They're scared. 1, ego. 2, being embarrassed. And 3, what are their friends going to say to him? Like, yo, dude, you really got beat up by a woman? Oh, you really report sexual harassment from a woman? What are you, stupid? Like, most single men. I'm the only single guy here who's not married. I'm the only one who can say, like, if I was single and a girl hit on me, I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't say no to that. It would be a boost conference for me, to be honest.
Although, mind you, now, again, I'm sure Coach can attest to this, and Mandrell, you may be getting more these days than you were back in the day, but even the married guys, oftentimes we tend to get hit on a little bit more.
Yeah, I've noticed
because it's like, because again, you're at the apex. You're the value. You're showing that, okay, he's a decent guy. He's consistent. He can hold a commitment, a relationship. Women look at you differently. If you're a married man and you look a certain way, like, I'm not saying married and looking like Jabba the Hutt or whatever. I'm saying, all of us, we take care of ourselves pretty well. Look at Coach still flexing them biceps. I know Mandrell puts it down. You know how I put it down. Ghost is getting back in the gym. He's doing his thing. I mean, but I'm just saying, but when you and sometimes I think it happens for the guys. There's some guys out there who go after married women. It's just a thing. It's like, look, if she's fine and she married, I
can say one thing about that. When I said this before on my channel, on the BMU channel, and other channels, when I was engaged, I had my engagement ring, girls were throwing themselves at me.
You were a magnet.
Seriously. I'm like, wee. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? I look at him like, you didn't even talk to me 2-3 years ago when I was single. Well, I'm stupid. I'm like, no, you want to go after something you cannot have.
Mm-hmm.
You're fucking jealous. So, Coach, come on, say something. You're being really quiet down there. I don't like you quiet down there.
Just to the topic alone, and I think I've, heard enough to sort of understand where we are. But to the topic itself, it's micro and macro, and macro and micro, however you want to mix it up, because on a larger scale, and to me, with any woman that I've dated, my wife, I expect guys to hit on them if I'm not around. I expect guys to look when I'm around. That's what men do. They can look. Mm-hmm. But I've never been violated. A guy never touched the woman that I was walking with and, called out her name, because me, I've always only focused on the man in a sense, though. I'll make sure I make eye contact with a man if I'm with a woman. Regardless if they was 6'10" or 5'4". And, I expect that. Sometimes I used to be, have my little pat myself on the shoulder, like, you see that? Y'all can't never touch that after me. And that was it. I was like it as a single man. 20s, 30s, it was easy. And I grew up in the house with 6 women, my mom and sisters. I understood women coming out the gate. I thought I was a little bit doing too much, because when I was single, I was getting flued out, like they say. I was getting taken to the restaurants. I was getting all that. But I never took advantage of nobody because I was, when I wanted to, just to flex, I did the same. But, I didn't comment on women at work at all. How you doing? Have a great day. I ain't going out to after party, the happy hour. I ain't doing it with nobody. Even the guys, I didn't do that with the guys I work with. Unless we just happen to see each other somewhere and, and sort of have a conversation about real life. And, okay, we can go play some basketball or something together, some athletic. But as far as hanging out, drinking and all, I wasn't big on that. I talk about my father was alcoholic. So I drink a little bit, but I ain't going hanging out with people randomly from the job and because I don't want to hear none of their stupid stories about the job. I see what the job is. I ain't gonna talk about the job. I ain't gonna talk about my family, none of that. You know what I'm saying? But just I've had women. I had a supervisor. Man, she was one of the finest supervisors I ever had, right? And the whole time she used to talk to me, I never used to be listening to her. I'd just be looking at her and talking to myself like, man, if she ever gave me a chance, but I ain't gonna never ask her. I used to talk to her like, fine too, man. But she taught me a lot. She taught me how to, be more professional, be more business oriented, be more, focused, goal focused and all that. And from that point, it just took over. And I've never, disrespected. I don't call women bees. I don't have to. If women don't like me, I ain't gonna be out there. I'll forget you. No, you just don't like me because I'm looking the way I look. I understand that. I accept my ugly. And as a man, you love yourself and you don't have to be. I work with children who were sexually harassed. These topics be a little too touchy for me because I work with people from all walks of life, from all ages. 3 months. Well, I had to work with some kids that was in what they call it, the NICU or NICU or something, NICU unit.
Yeah, NICU, the drug.
I've had clients that were mine, so I seen what those type of traumas inflict on a child and adult. So, sexual harassment, man, I've never experienced it because I'm never going to comment on a woman that I don't know, or even if I get to know you, I'm not going to comment on your dress and outfits. I don't do none of that. I keep a door open if I'm in a room with a woman. That was always me. Any woman that I've even dated, if she said no, mean no. And I wasn't going to put my hands nowhere that I couldn't grab it. But, and I've had to teach people how to sort of navigate that because it's tricky today. Words are offensive. And most guys, by pride, we won't admit it because, especially to men, because it seems like, oh man, you weak, you let her, you know what I'm saying? You should be happy because a lot of our young men are taught wrong about sexuality and being, sexual as a man, as a young man. We don't have those conversations with boys. So by the time they're teenagers, most of them wilding out. And the girls and the boys, and they both committing sexual harassment because if I'm a parent and I allow kids to have those type of behaviors and exercise those type of behaviors in my home, I'm just like P. Diddy on a low level. That's what it is because a lot of this behaviors happens in these kids' home, these young folk home. People, they're not doing it outside, they're doing it in somebody's home. And the adults that's in those homes are almost committing sexual harassment because a lot of these behaviors are, unfortunately, a lot of these behaviors are forced. You know what I'm saying? They're not taught. But I think that could help anybody just to learn about sexual harassment, being sexual harassed. What is any type of sexual violence on anybody, man? You need help. You need to talk to somebody. It's sort of
can I ask you just a follow up to that? Since you said you dealt with kids like that, do you think that there is an impact? Because again, guys, we used to laugh this off, just keeping it 100 with how boys are oftentimes sexualized at a young age. I mean, we've all had stories in this space. You got boys 12, 13, 14 years old. You got a 40, 50-year-old woman who taught them, they got their educations, like from that movie that was The Graduate. You had Mrs. Robinson, and we all kind of laugh at that. It's kind of like, yeah, man, some of us applauded and whatnot. But have you seen personally what that sort of thing, if you've experienced that or known somebody who's gone through that, how that may have affected the boy, the male, in a negative way? Because again, that sort of thing just doesn't get hyped up. In fact, the only time I ever hear that happen was that teacher, that white teacher, and she got with that Asian kid, and I think they had a couple kids or whatever. And she went to jail for some time or whatever. But that thing, prior to then, nobody even paid that any attention. Like they would have been fist pumping the kid if that was going on. Man, you got the teacher like that. So have you seen how this may impact young men? Because again, I don't think that's something that we talk about enough. And unfortunately, in our past, we might have glorified something like that when an older woman may violate a innocent boy or someone who's just not prepared for something like that.
I don't, just based off a question, and I see it. We need more brothers like you, Mandrell, and Sparta to go have these conversations, man. I don't see it.
And say what exactly?
But see, Mandrell, this is the thing. Say whatever you need to say. It ain't. That's the thing. You got all your great experience, all your you say whatever you need to say, and show them that you can kick them through the wall if they get out of hand. They'll love you. I'm telling you. Say what you need to say, because you ain't talking to 18, 30-year-olds. You talking to people. They're gonna be looking at you wide open. You did what? Eyes gonna be wide open looking at you because you coming with it. That's just me. But anyway, to your question, brother, I don't see it till men get older. You hear about it, especially a lot of in our community, you hear about it as men reach late 20s, 30s. As far as when kids are younger, it's not reported as much. Mm-hmm. But even outside of that, a lot of these young boys and girls, they being sort of traumatized within the home. It's within the home.
Yeah, that's where I notice most of it comes from.
Uncles, guys, the woman, a lot of them, and it's not reported as much. Like an older woman dating a little 15, 16-year-old, they've been doing it. It's, the numbers are very low, but it says something about the woman and the boy, you know what I'm saying? Because they was able, didn't they get back together and have 2 more kids or something like that?
Yeah.
See,
that was
they got off light.
That was just strange. That's all kinds of strange. Every time the story because I think they did like a 10-year, where are they now sort of thing. And even then it just felt creepy,
But see, those things are lenient. Let one of us do it. We do just now been getting out of the jail. You know what I'm saying? We still be in there.
That's my point. Trying to get this. Yeah. So why is it okay a woman to do that, but not a man?
It's not okay for men to do it.
In that case, she went to jail. I mean, it was grape. I'll just not to violate anything, but it was grape. She was prosecuted. She was put in prison. But again, as soon as she got out, they got back together, and I don't know if they're still together or not. I think Mary Letourneau, I think was the name of the woman. But I'm just saying that, do you think this has, and Mandrell, just looking at your expression, do you think this can have an impact? So again, you 12, 13-year-old boy, and you got in the neighborhood, you got Mrs. Susie over there, and she's in her 40s, and she's kind of like, say, hey, come over here. I mean, that's by law, that is statutory. That's everything she should be under the jail for that legally. But I don't know if we treat that in the same manner as obviously the other way around, which again, we know what's going to happen if it happens to a guy. So again, is it just our attitudes towards this with guys is it's just different than how how women perceive it?
Yeah, the attitude is different.
Yeah.
And here's the
And is
crazy,
there damage? What I also want to
yeah,
get to
they are damaged.
is there damage?
There's damage.
What's the damage to a man as he gets to adulthood? Should that happen to him, if
Yeah,
any?
well-
If you think that happens,
But it can be good on. It can be. I would say it'd be good and bad, because some guys would take that incident and that trauma and use it to become a deviant sexual individual out here, because there's no intimacy in that, and he'll take it like, oh, all girls, all women just gonna just give it to me, and just be, not gonna be any, like when you first learning somebody your age and you taking it slow, and but some guys, it can do both. A lot of guys won't recover because they're going to this sexualization, and sex they'll be sex driven. It won't be no feeling to sex. Nobody, love is just be sex.
so
And
in other
some
words, you
guys,
think it would impair their ability to form like real, true
yes,
relationships with women?
for sure. Because some may become, rapists. Some maybe, what I'm saying, do all kinds of deviant stuff to women, because depending on how old that young man is, he can carry that. And some guys can be more, what is it called? What's it called? More depressed. They'll be in a little seclusive. They'll be loud, because they don't know how to speak it out, because it's not a conversation that he can go have with his boys who are all talking about how much sex they getting, and here it is, a grown woman is giving this child this experience. So,
Well, depends on his environment. It depends on the kid's environment. Something like the environment I grew up in, that would have been a bunch of high fives. There would have been a bunch of attaboys. I don't believe you. Some guys just wouldn't believe you, stuff like that. Because, it was, if you're talking about elementary school, that was the 80s. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, what did you know at the time? You know what I mean? There was no internet. I mean,
that's cool.
it's today it's everywhere. You know what I mean? But there was no internet at the time. There was no. I mean, it also depends on the person's constitution. Because growing up, I think the way that I would have saw it is boy and girl, and the the hurrah thing about it would be, it's like, I scored a grown woman, not even a chick my age. You know what I mean? And that's what everybody would have been cheering. I mean, but at the same time, when you talk about damage, that's where the person's constitution comes in. Because I don't know that. I don't know. And like, I guess we'll get to this in my interview. I see things differently than most people. Always have. Like a lot of shit that people get bothered by and they're depressed about, it's not even on my radar. Like even death. It's like, it sucks, but it's not. I'm not going to let it ruin my day. So you talking about it? There are people, I think very few people who are like that, but other people, I mean, I think in the beginning the kids are getting excited about it, because you see reports, not so much lately, but it happens all the time, where female teachers go after children. And I think if it's a child who can't consent, that's disgusting, and they should go to jail.
Right.
So I just want to be clear about that on the
So
program. That's what I think
would
about.
you give
And we're also seeing, just in general, young girls who are a lot more promiscuous and bold about it. Like they're not, they would play the nice girl, but they really weren't. You knew those types back in the day. Now they just like, they listen to some Sexy Red or whatever, and they be like, they don't even hide it anymore.
Still haven't heard one of her songs.
I'm just saying, I haven't either. I'm just saying, my kids put me, I hear about her in this space. I'm just saying, but even girls a lot more forward, what I mean, about their, in this thing. And sometimes, again, at younger ages, I remember our guy Hink, he talking about, he would be at, because he worked in maintenance at a middle school. They got condoms left, right, and center in the bathrooms that he's got to, pull out. So we know that these young kids are doing it. And so, is it, it's becoming, it's leveling out, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Women are being just as for,
most of these kids now these days who are sexual active, like you say, have their own OnlyFans account at 15, 16. Yeah, Trey. People say, how are they getting it? The parents don't give a shit. Oh yeah, son. Okay, here we go. Nowhere to monitor that shit.
It's not like to have age verification process.
Yeah.
You
Go
mean
ahead,
to tell
Trey.
me that there are teenagers with those
Yes.
type of accounts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, though. The thing is, OnlyFans gets a bad rep because when you hear OnlyFans, you think adult content. However, OnlyFans can be about anything, like YouTube. It's like YouTube. We can have this podcast on OnlyFans if we wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Well, that's
just
a good idea.
it's just behind a paywall. You know what I'm saying?
So what happened with OnlyFans is technically the raunchy women got in front of it and sort of gave it a
There
bad
you
rap.
go. There you go.
Mhm.
Because there are people who make cooking shows on OnlyFans where they just go
Well,
there. and cook
didn't it come
and-
out a couple weeks ago? This woman, I think she's like a Christian woman or something like that. She made like $43 million
Mhm.
last year, but she doesn't do adult content.
Right.
But somehow she made over $40 million last year on it.
Mhm.
So, so I agree with Mandrell that it can be, unfortunately the adult side of it has gotten most of the attention in terms of the
But why,
platform.
Paul? That is the question. Why?
Oh, come on now. Listen, it's just
Go
like
ahead,
those North Koreans who joined the war with who joined the Soviets in the war against Ukraine. Okay, you got North Koreans who are in the Truman Show, pretty much, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
They don't have porn there.
Mhm.
Okay. So now they're mixing in with the Russians, and the Russians have been showing them the real internet. And here's why people ask me, North Korea could do this? No, they won't. No, they won't. Because they have to come out of North Korea to fight us. And once they see how the rest of the world really works, you think they're going to want to go back? Because now Kim Jong-un has to kill most of them because you can't have them come back to North Korea and tell everyone how it really is. You know what I'm saying? So it's like now that they're back and they see how things really work, the Russians have been, hey, I can see this because we would play this trick too. We would do it too. Hey, want to see something fun? Check this out. And so now they see the adult content and they're just like, oh. And it's a problem because they're, with themselves. And they
Shaking
see
hands?
this, huh?
They're shaking hands for
Shaking
themselves.
hands with themselves. Yeah, right. And so they doing so much of it that it's literally interfering with their work and they can't get things done. Like it's that bad, Paul. It's that bad.
Wow.
So it was like I had a point to that, but I got stuck on that part. I was really going.
It figures
I really
with you.
was going somewhere. I really was going somewhere with that. But I've been inundated with content like things like the whole Tim Kennedy thing. Who else? Marcus Luttrell. All this stuff going on in the special operations community.
Yeah.
I've been dealing with that for the past few weeks because it is an absolute shitstorm on the back end that you guys don't know about and don't hear about.
Mhm.
It is, because the DOJ is involved with some of it now. Like it's,
Can you speak about it a little bit, Metro, or no?
they're talking about taking
Save
Tim
it for the gray areas.
So but there's that, and then there's this terrorist attack here in New Orleans and in Vegas. So been on the phone, been in contact with people.
Yeah.
So it's,
But Mandrell and Trey and Coach, since you both have military experience, what is when it comes to harassment from what you know? Because I know you guys were in a minute ago, so I don't know if you're up to date.
it's worse now, but I'll tell you,
the policy
how's it in the military? They don't play that. It absolutely no. That is
compared to when you were in, or is
it always look,
Yeah.
dude. If you get caught doing that, or just someone reporting it is enough to put you at full stop. They're gonna let your wife know. You listen. No,
you'll be out of the military probably within.
But what I'm saying, but I want to know what's the arbitration process? Is it just the accusation? Is the investigations? Did JAG get involved? I mean, what is the process? Even is it bigger? Because again, if you're doing that, then you need to go. But But is it just on word? I mean, unfortunately, like I said, in Pia's case, it was just his word versus hers, and he got the brunt of it. Is it that simple in the military, or is there a much more? Because we're also talking about, again, how can we improve this situation? So if the military has a model that can be used in certainly the corporate arena or in mainstream arena, then that could be useful.
If you had that in the corporate arena, you would hate life, because you can't do no. The accusation alone is like you're on full stop. You're pulled off duty. They find you something else to do, and they take you away from like everyone. You know what I'm saying? Like you and that person are never to be in the same building together, pretty much. But you definitely can't be around each other anymore. But UCMJ action is like they got the pen and the paper right here, just on the accusation alone. Uniform Code of Military Justice in one hand and a pen in the other, just on someone saying something.
So, Joe, that's funny.
Like they're ready, because they're not. The thing is, that is such a blight on the reputation of your unit, your leadership, the Corps as a whole, the Army. You know what I'm saying? As a whole, it's such a blight on that. They're not giving you second chances. They're not. No, the thing is, before, and you can ask Ferg, this is before JAG gets involved.
Yeah, that's
9 times out of 10, JAG don't even get involved. Your unit takes your command,
but you don't as the one being accused, you don't have a path to protest or get advocacy for yourself. That's what I'm saying. I wonder what that. If you can just quickly say what that process is like. So you get accused, and what's your next move?
The investigation goes on, right? So because that person is accusing you, they have to prove that you did it.
And it's hard.
Even if it's just some your word against theirs thing, you're separated. You're in one unit, that person's in a whole nother.
But even to that though, it's hard to prove it, Mr. Bennett, because in the military, soldiers are around each other 24/7. You would have to go through some lengthy measures to stalk somebody on base. Always, because soldiers are always either working or R&R, and when soldiers are R&R, when they just hanging back at the new car in the barracks, soldiers just be around other soldiers. Males be around females, you know what I'm saying? And once you get to your regular duty station, there's going to be a lot of opportunity for males and females to be around each other. So it's really hard to do that without other people not recognizing it. If believe me, if somebody said they was, if I said somebody was sexually harassing me, I would have 50 witnesses to say, "Yep, she did it. Yep, he did it." That's how.
So let me ask you guys a question here, because I've heard some horror stories back in the day, on like the Vietnam era and stuff like that. Maybe 80s and 90s a little bit too. Like some women going in, all of a sudden they're commanding officer or something, like taking them in the back, like, "Oh, let's go have a smoke," and all of a sudden things happen.
Yeah, no officer or anybody sergeant in charge of a subordinate could have any type of relationships outside of, "Hey, soldier, go over there and tighten up that boat. Hey, soldier," you can't be nothing romantic. You'll get
you're not allowed. Yeah, like that.
Does that ever happen?
I've seen that happen. Yeah, because I've seen it happen in big
You'll
army.
be kicked out with a disarmor discharge somewhere sad.
That's after they've taken your pay.
Yeah.
They've taken your time. They've taken your rank. Like it is no game.
Yeah.
So you're saying
no
right now,
game.
if I understand correctly, Joe, like nobody takes that risk because it's not even worth it.
No. Well, people do it. People do it because people are stupid.
Yeah, they're idiots.
But the thing is, the punishment is so severe. Like I said, like Trey said, tell you, they'll kick you out with a dishonorable discharge. But like I said, that's after they've taken your time.
Yeah, that's the last
they've
thing.
taken your money, because you have to pay a fine, a big one, for a long time. They've taken your time, your money, they've taken your rank, but you suffer. It is not a quick death. It is a very slow and extremely painful thing. Once you get caught, if you've actually done it, Yeah, it is.
But that
slow
being
and
said,
painful.
it does not discourage, because again, we've had different within the BMU space with different spaces. We've had other military guys who come on and they talk about the how should I say this? The what's that Roman orgy thing? What does they call it?
The brothel.
No, what do they call it?
Thing?
What's the word for it? But bottom line is, they say that things happen. You know, many guys to one lady gets passed around.
Yeah,
like,
that whole
you know,
thing.
the orgies that the
No.
what's that? Is that Greek? What's that Greek Roman thing? What's it? Caligula? I think.
The Kama Sutra.
No.
That's
The
not
Caligula.
happening.
Like, it's
Just
like
a
the
minute.
group. You know, there's been
He's talking
stories
about
that
pretty
have been
much
shared that stuff like that goes down. Where,
He's talking about the one woman that comes on base and every guy sleeps with her kind of thing.
no, I'm talking about just soldiers now. And
He's
then
talking about all of them.
she's in also. But I'm just saying.
He's
But
talking about all
I've
of
heard
them.
many stories of soldiers getting down.
Listen,
If you got a mingling
never
of
heard those
female
stories.
and male soldiers,
Adrian,
tell
you
you
ever heard
this.
a story like that?
listen. I've heard of no. Here's the thing: for there to be multiple like dudes on one woman, I've never understood the point, because if you're in the army, like all the chicks are
Fine.
down. They're down. Like
What do you
it's
mean
not
down?
hard to
What do you mean
get a
down?
woman in the army. Like if she's a female,
very easy to get cheeks in
you
the
just
military.
ask. Yeah, you just fucking
And
like
they go
Right.
to
I'm saying
literally. It's like it's not hard.
that's my point. You talk about the fear of sexual harassment is such that does not prevent men and women in service from that act, you know, from just that loose activity,
Because
even
it's
though it may
consensual.
result later on in someone saying, "Hey, these dudes, they did this to me," or something. Or you don't have somebody who.
It ain't like civilian where if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen in that time. You know what I'm saying? But it's again, it's I haven't heard of any cases where somebody done circle back 10, 15 years and said they were doing, you know, they were harassed in this manner. Because even in the moment that is brought to anybody's attention, everybody within that rank and file line is gonna know about it.
Yeah, they do.
Everybody all the
Everyone
way up to
knows
the
that
5-star
you are
general. The
I don't know.
4-star
Like I said,
general knows about it.
I've never been military, so again, I probably watched too many movies.
Yeah, don't go. No,
Full Metal
the
Jacket and
movie-
all that. So
no.
they
Everyone's gonna know.
because again, especially like Vietnam era or when women were first started to be when they started in when did they start integrating women into like military as far as not having separate units? When did that happen?
I think
No, black people were brought in like in 48. I know that.
They've always had
They
separate
integrated in
units.
48, but
women are always separate in the training. It's just when you go to the actual service of it, because even the female medics and male medics work together once they in the service of it. The training part is pretty much the only thing that's separate. Everything else is integrated.
But not back in the day, not back in Korea or Vietnam era.
Yeah,
They
the
were
nurses work together with the doctors.
the
They
nurses.
always,
I'm talking about soldiers though.
yeah, but
I
as
don't
far as
know.
fighting
Yeah.
combat, no, that's what is
No,
that.
yeah,
90s?
that's something
The
that's
nine,
very
that's
new.
GI Jane.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
GI Jane stuff, man. No, and that's why women shouldn't be in combat.
Yeah, keep
It's
your
too
ass
much
on
of it.
the side.
Like in combat arms, you're not going to see it because it's too much of a distraction.
Mhm.
And if they're a distraction on the battlefield, people die.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's human nature. The two are going to be attracted to each other, and that's gonna.
Or
and
even like I said, even with the civilians, like we also like Full Metal Jack. Mean guys in the military, you're in Saigon, you're in whatever, and you know, women are there. I mean,
yeah,
was that a thing from your not since you have a family history background? I'm sure you know had family members who served in Vietnam. None of that ever came up, like how soldiers would violate women in these countries where stuff was going on.
That's not something that happened often or anything like that. Because if it did, UCMJ, like that's something that happens. It did happen, but it's not a norm. It wasn't a normal thing. You know what I'm saying? It really wasn't a normal thing. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like people would see it and no one would say anything. Bro, look, you want to do that? You know what I'm saying? That's what you want to do? No. A lot of people just wouldn't tolerate that. someone would say something and report it up the chain.
Mhm.
It's just, and also like what Trey and I try to get you to understand is there's no need to violate anyone
Mhm.
because it's so like they're willing to give it to you
Mm.
for free, and so many of them. It's like there's like why would I want to? What's the point? No,
Oh.
this is easy. All I have to
And
do is say, wait. All I gotta Trey. All we had to do is say so.
and here's the
That's
thing
it.
about it, Mandrell, and I know you understand this. And even here's the thing about it, Mr. Biddy. I'll say about 98%, 99.9% of the women in the military, I know when I was in and Mandrell was in, they all were fine.
Yep.
Their bodies was like, oh, Sha'Carri Richardson, okay, I see.
Mhm.
And
And
that was the thing.
yeah,
You know, today it's a little different because I go on base a lot.
I do
And
too.
I'll be looking at the soldiers like, are these big wide hip dudes in the service today?
And I'm saying, yeah, and I'm saying this because, like, for us, it's like, why bother? You know what I'm
Why
saying?
bother?
Like, that never. So when it does happen, that's why I don't feel sorry for anyone who gets that UCMJ action. I don't feel sorry for you at all. You had no reason to violate anybody like that. So you get what you get. You go to Leavenworth, cool.
Cool.
Mm.
You get the full bore, cool. You get what you deserve because you're stupid. You know what I mean? Like I said, when it does happen, that's why I've always encouraged women to report it. If that is in fact what's happening,
Yeah,
and you're in the military, do it.
report it.
No mercy.
Yep.
Give it to sock it to him. And look, if it's the Army, I don't know how it is in the Air Force and the rest of them, but in the Army, yeah, you're gonna get it. Okay, you're
And
gonna
Mr.
get
Biddy,
the
here's the crazy
consequences.
part.
Mhm.
This is
Because
what
one
the
thing I know,
military will
talking
do.
to CQ and you guys in the military, they say if something happens, you're gonna get ass whooped, and B, somebody's going to figure out fast what's going on.
But if they
Well,
say,
here's the thing, like if you're fooling around, like me and Trey Ferg trying to tell you, if you're fooling around, everyone's gonna know.
yeah,
They're gonna know.
you
Like it's
know,
not gonna be a secret.
sure ain't.
It's, it's not, you cannot keep a secret in the
In the
Army.
military.
Yeah, no, you can't. Everyone's
All right,
gonna
let's welcome who just joined us.
Who's that?
Hello?
Diamond Joy, hello.
Hey,
Yeah,
Damon.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
yeah, you're
can.
nice and loud. Go ahead.
Hi, I just sorry, I was having a hard time getting in. What's
no
going
problem.
on?
No problem. So what do you have? Guess thoughts on the topic?
Because
We've gone
obviously
in.
we have a woman on here now, so let's get
Mhm.
your opinion as a woman about this
Yep.
stuff. Go ahead. You have
Okay.
the floor for a minute.
Okay. Um, well, I know that the industry now, doesn't matter what field, both men and women,
Mhm.
um, at the point, sexual harassment is a big thing now. Since I'm basically current working in a hospital in a dietary department. And since a company took over, it's required that we had to take a sexual harassment course.
Yep. Yep.
And, it's the protocol now. But my biggest thing now, as a woman, um, I don't like the way I see things that it's not right. Like, for instance, let's say I see a situation. Let's say if somebody's not interested in you and then you take it so to heart and you reject it. And then when somebody, oh, this person just got rejected. And then all of a sudden you started to hold on that anger. And then you will do anything just to cause this person, any, I will say, living pain or misery till they lose their job, which is the worst thing as a human being. And I see that like the man became the victim at work. Like this person wants to, interested in dating this guy. And then she got so upset and didn't like being rejected. I understand nobody likes to be rejected, but you have to move forward. You can't be dwelling something if somebody's rejecting you. But, I mean, I have my fair share of sexual harassment from my old job. Of course, I'm not gonna wait and dwell and not to report it. You have to report it right away. When something's not comfortable, you have to report it no matter what. Um, I hate to say it, it's both men and women experience sexual harassment, equal parts. But the problem is, I notice they don't take men seriously, which is kind of sad to say because I noticed they, like, oh, how that's possible, how she is, is this little, this person, like they're gonna look at you like you're crazy or something. But I hate to say it, as a woman, I hate to, bring this up. Ever since the Me Too movement came about, all of a sudden, oh, we're the ones, you know, suffer this and that, but it's also the man suffer too. Because I don't think it's right. Can't be only one side. Everybody, have, suffering, but it's, to me, it's not right. The fact that um that men also suffer, they trying to make sure they, doing the right thing, have respect, doing their, just ignore, but act professional. But, sometimes I hate to say it, everybody wants to get carried away and then, they don't want to focus on their job. Um, and it's like, it's basically more pleasure than professionalism, I will say. Um, I mean, it's unfortunate because I know that the workforce, the culture, like the workforce culture changed a lot, I will say. But of course you have to be, very professional, low, like low key, just keep it going. Just, you want to make sure you're respectful, but not in the harshest way. Other than that, I don't know what else can I say. I don't like the fact that, the last thing I need to see is a gentleman to lose a job because of something that he got framed for, something that he didn't do. To me, it's not right. And then it's like majority, everybody go against one individual, but nobody's backing this individual up.
Right.
I mean, I don't know what else can I say. It's a shame what's happening now, and especially I would say it's more prone in this country. I will say I'm not sure for outside and in other industrial countries, but it's kind of, I don't know. I mean, it's so much change. It's like it should be, this is what, there should be guidelines. No is no, when I tell you no is no, that's it. You can't be like engaging and get enraged or whatever the case is. So, I mean, I don't know what else can I say, but we live in a society that I will say people don't know how to say no, or they don't like to get rejected. I mean, it's very unfortunate, I will say. I mean, that's
Diamond
all I
Joy,
could
can I ask you
answer.
can I ask you a couple follow up questions?
Yes.
One, how would you? I know because again, I go through training every year, so I know exactly what you're talking about as far as
Mm-hmm.
the training. But personally,
Mm-hmm.
because you've also shared that you've been harassed over the years, and again, that's unfortunate. But
Yes.
how would you define that? Are we talking about people? I mean, because some of the stuff is obvious. If someone's touching you inappropriately
Mm-hmm.
or hitting on you all the time, but I mean, like the way I've been hearing it defined lately, like let's say if guys are they're making jokes about a woman's anatomy or something like that, or
Yeah.
do you think all of that falls within the same category or do you think certain things that are maybe labeled as sexual harassment shouldn't be labeled as such, like guys cracking jokes? And second, my second question would be: have you seen in more recent years? Have you seen more women initiate sexual harassment against men? Not the accusation, but I'm talking about
Mm-hmm.
actually. Do you see a lot of women being a bit more forward with guys where they're being sexually harassed now than maybe I don't know your age, but maybe like say maybe say 10 years ago or 15 years ago?
Mm-hmm. I will say, I mean, according to my profession, it's required to, to go, basically go this little it's like a virtual meeting that we attend,
Yep. Yep.
and it's required for,
Yep.
that everybody needs to attend.
Right.
Because that's the new company. Basically, for every employee needs to know the guidelines.
Mhm.
I mean, I know there's visual harassment. There's also somebody make a comment harassment, or somebody touch you inappropriately. Those type of harassment. I know for a fact that we had to follow the guidelines. You don't want to do something that's against the company policy, and if you don't follow that, and of course somebody's going to report you if you're doing something that's out outside the company, whatever the case is, there's consequences.
Mhm.
um for me, um I don't see, because I'm basically in the kitchen constantly.
Mhm.
I'm, I mean, I used to work in at a resort years ago. For me, harassment will be when somebody touched me inappropriately. And of course, and I don't feel comfortable. I didn't, like somebody just like verbally put their hands on me, so to speak.
Mhm.
And then I was holding it, and I say I had to report this to my executive chef. I mentioned it to him what happened to me. I said, listen, I say, I know I should went to you right away, but you weren't here last night. So, and I told him the next day, I say, I told him this such and such, put his hands on my breasts. He puts his
Oh
hands,
wow. Mm.
and he put his hands on, touching my ass and everything. And then
Wow.
I found out my coworker had the same experience. And come and think of it, he say, I said, I will handle it. And then now I'm hearing from other females, they say they've been touched inappropriately. And, then I had to write a statement, give it to HR.
Right.
I will say, this is over 12, 13 years ago this
Mhm.
happened.
Mhm.
In the army,
Uh,
the
so,
second you reported that, they didn't. The second you said something,
Mhm.
yeah,
who was it? It was him. They're snatching his ass up. Okay,
yeah.
like
Right.
the army does
Now,
not.
let me before, and I want to get to
They
the
taking that
second
shit
part of Diamond Joy's question I had for her. Hold
Hmm.
on to that, Mandrell, because I also want to get back to we talked about the SOPs earlier. I want to talk about that a little bit as well. But Diamond Joy, the second part, are you seeing more women be more aggressive in the workplace when it comes to touching men or just being very forward? Now, have you seen that in the last
I
few years?
see more women being forward.
Mm.
When they ask, oh, I want to go out with you, that type of thing. And, a man will say, I'm not interested in you. And they say, I see you as a sister or whatever. And they, like, they kind of like, what do you mean, see me as a sister? Like,
Mm.
how dare you? That type of
Oh
thing.
wow.
I'm like, but, it's because everybody have a different type. But, I
Right.
can't get so detailed and elaborate, because I like to, I see a situation,
Mm.
and, the last thing I need is like, oh my gosh, she exposed it. The thing is, I like to, I see it and I didn't like what I saw.
Mm.
And it's like, how you don't understand, if a guy is not interested in you, you have to respect that. You
Mm.
cannot almost like forcing him to like you or something. You can't
Mm.
do that to a guy. If a
Mm.
guy is not interested in you, he's not interested in you. That's it.
Mm.
But if that's the case, you had to, if you can't find a guy or whatever, because he was a good looking gentleman and everything, but she didn't, he has no interest in her. And I don't want to say it, she was kind of flat, like she was not curvy. She
Mm.
was very extremely petite,
Mm.
and he was not in, he has no desire whatsoever.
Right. Right.
Um, but I notice women could be very aggressive, like, like, oh, I'm interested in you, that type of thing. But, there's also why you're doing that in the workplace. This
Mm.
is what I don't understand. This is
Yeah.
like, if you really want to find somebody, either, you have to go other social settings, and workplace, definitely it's not one of them.
Yeah.
Because now it's
Although I can
like,
understand, yeah, I can
yeah,
understand why it happened. Not to cut you off, Because I mean, again, more times than not, you spend the time at work most of the time with, that's the time you're with most people, right? I mean,
Yes.
for some people, you spend more time at work than you do with your spouse, right?
Yes.
You have a high end job, so and oftentimes at these jobs, you're looking your best, right? Home, I can
Yes.
be in flannel, I can be in rollers, I can be, whatever. But your workplace, you're looking you nice, you're smelling good, so I can understand it, even though I would not recommend it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's just natural. You mean you're working in the kitchen, so you're in a close environment, and whatnot. So I kind of understand how it happens. And again, I've seen certainly a lot of what they call those work spouses.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, 'cause you're hanging out together, you go on cigarette breaks together, you have lunch together, and stuff just, when you're around
Yeah.
someone that much, stuff sometimes just happens even when it shouldn't.
Yeah. I mean, I will say it's a mix. Some people, they find somebody, and then some people don't find somebody, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And it's when it meant to be, it's meant to be. If it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be.
Mhm.
But I do see that in workplace. I mean, I will say, 1/3 of life you spend at work, of course.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's very hard to find somebody. But then
Right.
sometimes it's like, by seeing what I observe at work, and whenever I see a situation, I'm like, oh my God, this is a complete red flag. Why I'm seeing a woman that is trying to pursue this guy and doesn't have any hints, like, get it,
Yeah.
like, don't be so obsessed with him. I understand he's a good looking dude and everything, but you have to respect his decision.
Mhm.
But as I say, I see women are more aggressively approached, but it depends. Every woman is different. I'm not going to say every woman is like that, but I mean, from what I observed, she was very young. She was not even 30 years old yet. So still, this is the thing about now, because of the new policy.
It's not
Maybe you
young.
had to take that in, like the new, the sexual harassment policy that's implemented. I mean, every company has it. No matter what, you had to attend a virtual meeting, but
Mhm.
you had to also follow the guidelines. But then the last thing you need to say, accuse and throw and frame somebody. Oh, this person say this such and such. Where's proof? Where's your
Mhm.
witnesses? You
Right.
can't say something if you don't have a backup evidence
Yeah.
whatsoever. But
Totally get that.
I will say, I don't like, like, I see, for me, that, I'm sorry, I'm getting my brain like froze right now.
We got you. We got you. Yeah. But I
um
really appreciate you sharing. And
yeah.
again, I'm sorry that you had to go through that.
Yeah.
Totally unacceptable, and it's hard to imagine that even today those things that happen. With all of the things going on, you would think there'd be a lessening of that, but it's just
Yeah.
unfortunate that you had to go through that. But one thing I want to tie something that you said earlier, and I want to tie back to Mandrell, that
Hmm.
sometimes what I'm seeing in these cases, a lot of times where stuff is allowed to go on, or people say, yeah, I'll handle it, but they won't. Because a lot of
Hmm.
times they'll say, well, it depends on the value of the person who's being accused.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
what I wanted to ask Mandrell, so if I can't ask Mandrell, if
Hmm.
you put in the chat, I'll ask Coach, that even in the military, even though you said that it's you're out or whatnot, but does not your position matter in the military? So if you're SOPs, elite of the elites, do
I'll
they
tell you
get
this.
more breaks or more leeway when it
No,
comes to that
people
stuff? Or
people kicked out of Delta Force for having messy divorces. You didn't put your hands on her. You didn't mistreat her. It's just a messy divorce. They will kick you out of Delta Force because of that.
wow, okay,
Mm. Wow.
Now,
Over a
Green
messy
Berets,
divorce?
only a handful of ways a Green Beret gets in trouble. Booze, money, women. That is it.
And drugs.
No, not even that. But
I know people that sell drugs. I'm sorry.
right, but if you get caught selling, yeah, but yeah, typically with a Green Beret, that's it. But you're in special operations, Yeah, that's no.
Still,
But
I mean,
even
that's good. I'm glad, but I'm saying sometimes the way the world works is oftentimes again, if you have like a low grade somebody accusing a higher up who's of value to you,
no,
a lot of times
Brother
people get
Bennett,
braced. I'm not saying the military. I'm saying
no,
the military seems to do it differently,
yeah, they do it
and maybe
totally
that's the
different.
way it should be done. But I'm just saying, in the outside world, who you are oftentimes matters when it comes to how these things are handled. But it seems like from what you guys are saying,
Not with
military,
that.
it doesn't matter
They
who
don't
you
care.
are. So a 5-star general, if something comes up,
All right, so
really,
yeah, and here's the thing, Mr. Bennett, and that's what I think. Sometimes when I equated my civilian life, I always stayed to the value of what the military taught me as far as how to be in the socialization of the world. You know, when I'm dealing with people, when I'm conducting business, you know what I'm saying? And certain things like that are non-negotiables because if I would just say a master sergeant and I had a new soldier come into my unit and I had any type of, like we said, we was talking about earlier, I can be looking all day, right? I can have in my mind all day, right? But I cannot act on that. I cannot say,
In other words, you can be shaking hands with yourself, but cannot be acting out on it.
yes. I can't, I can only refer to her as soldier, private, specialist, sergeant. I can't call her Tanya, Joanne, ever. It's a
definitely not honey or sugar.
you can't mess with subordinates in the military. If you're in a chain of command, she's under your chain of command. You can't have no type
So,
of
in other
social
words, Trey, you're
relationship.
saying a guy comes in your unit. His name is Paul. He sees nice shiny head, and you go rub his head. You get in trouble for that?
Well, it may not have to go through the chain of command. But me and Paul just may have a fisticuff in the hallway. But soldiers don't do that type of behavior because they respect each other. You know what I'm saying? It's just a code that soldiers understand because
No, I know. I'm just messing with you. I
but
know.
listen, the way the military does it in a sense is I think even with jobs, like when you get a new job, they don't even talk about through the hiring process sexual harassment. They give you a book. I tell you now they do it digitally. Most people don't read it because most people don't abide by the rules for real anyway. But the thing about the military, they show you where to go, and you better know that information. So when you act on the foolishness, you can't never say in the military that I did not know. You can that's never an excuse. You can never say I did not know. And it's so hard because again, soldiers are always together. Like say we were all in the same little squad, all four of us, right? And she's the female, she will be hanging around us like she's one of the guys.
Yeah, I seen that.
But here's the thing: if any of you all had a love interest in her, since you all are on the same level of soldier, then y'all can get married and have a 20-year career together. But the one thing y'all can't do is if at any point in y'all want to split up, you cannot start fighting on base and having conflicts like that. They will say, okay, both of y'all, okay, we're gonna kick both of y'all out, dishonorable. Y'all lose your time, you lose your money, and now you can't do that at all.
Yeah.
I've seen guys when they knew that their wives were cheating, they would inflict pain on themselves. I didn't see a guy, but a guy when I was staying in housing, a guy like in a cul-de-sac, he was like, I'll say like 6 doors away. He knew his wife was cheating. He tried to drink a gallon of radiator fluid. I saw guys actually delete themselves, because the trauma is devastating and you can't do it. It's hard to get away with it. You're gonna go to jail too. They'll give you 8 months in Leavenworth. In Leavenworth,
No, I've heard some horror stories. People, wives cheat on all that stuff. But we're getting close to the final. Paul, you want to go first? Your final thoughts. Trey second, and Joy, your last. So let's try to do a different view this time. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, this has been, I think, certainly an insightful conversation tonight. I'll always, as far as protecting men, just personal, personal etiquette, how you carry yourself. I would rather be conservative than not. Keep yourself out of situations where something like that can happen. If it is happening to you, then obviously report it. Especially if you're a married man and that happens to you, definitely report it. Because again, like I said, you have someone to answer to, at your house. So make sure that all that stuff stays above board. She shouldn't be finding about stuff that would have been going down later on. You just ignored it. So definitely handle that if you can. So again, for those who certainly struggle with that, certainly I feel for you. For those who've been falsely accused, like I'm in grooming here, again, horrible situation. Again, I would hate that we have to go to something where everything has to be recorded or taped. But if that's the measure that you have to go to protect yourself, especially from somebody who has been continuously pressuring you or causing issues for you, where you feel that your personal safety is at risk, then definitely start recording. In a lot of states, you don't even need. Now, there's certain states, who I understand, where you need you need to give person notice that they're being recorded. But in most states, I know where I'm at, New Jersey, you don't have to let anybody know that they're being recorded. So again, if those are the measures that you need to go through to protect yourself against such charges, then by all means, then do so to protect yourself. But just sometimes just small decisions, choosing not to hang out, not to say things that, even if you're well intended, keep your work, and even on the social end, because this is where sometimes it gets gray. So we're just coming out of the holidays. Companies and corporations, to be having Christmas parties, so everyone's in a festive mood, everyone's cackling, giggling, the wine's being passed around, the alcoholic drinks is drink all night, and then people go to the after parties afterwards, and the party still continues there. So that's when sometimes things get a little bit gray, because again, your guard comes down and you may not be thinking necessarily in your right mind, and if you were feeling for somebody or whatever, you may say the wrong thing, or be more open to saying things that in your right mind you would have kept to yourself. So also just watch these social situations, because depending on the company, and say, hey, let's all go out to dinner, or hey, let's all as a team, your manager saying, hey, let's all go out and do this and that, and then people start sharing, and it could lead to oversharing sometimes too. So even in the way your corporate, depending on your corporate situation, is what I did learn in the sexual harassment training, even if it's like an away thing. If it's anything that's involved in the company, so it could be a company vacation, technically you're still under company policy, even though you guys aren't necessarily in the office or what have you. So again, you really need to be mindful of that stuff going forward. And for guys, like I said, certainly women are certainly being more aggressive in their pursuits. But again, just be wise in that situation too. Be as direct as you can. Don't just laugh it off and say, key with it. If you're not interested, just make it plain. But again, take the necessary precautions to protect yourself at all times. So that's all I got.
Oh man, great show, man. Yeah, salute to the people that understand, man. You have to compartmentalize life and work and things like that. But yeah, I don't see why it's always hard to understand the sexual harassment part between men and women. Everybody is deserving of their space, and without being, physically touched and, I guess pushed to do things against their will. I think it's harmful for anybody to inflict those things on anyone, man or woman. Ladies, if a guy does it and you believe it's totally inappropriate and it's I would say first find out what the definition of the word is, and then what is constituted within the laws or regs of your company. And even outside of that, if you notice something that's inappropriate, please report it. Release that mental anguish. Do the right thing. But especially moving forward today, because we mix in genders and we mix in a whole lot of unnecessary man and woman stuff that should be separated. But if you have children, man, protect the children. Have those conversations about what it is. because we say things now, things you could say 10 years ago could also get you in a position where you lose everything, but be constantly aware of what you say and how you say it. Man, I don't know if you having thoughts of you want to do anything against a woman's will, get some help, man. Get some help. Talk to somebody else. Stop talking to yourself, because, it's just a different time, man. I have no pity for anybody that does that and commits those type of behaviors. I do not, because I've worked with people who were actually had those type of things inflicted on them. I've taught classes about sexual harassment. I work with young women, so no, you should get the full extent of the law. Full extent of the law. So other than that, man, hey, Groom, man, great conversation, man. I wish there was more spaces like this where they can start ironing these things out, because a lot of people don't understand
Trey,
what the
like
process
always,
is.
my man, you're always welcome here. This is your third home away from home,
Yeah,
second home away
I
from home, or
appreciate it,
whatever you want
man.
to call it.
But yeah, man, it's a great conversation, man. I'm glad we got a lady to come up,
Oh,
give
wait,
some
wait,
of that
wait.
experience.
Wait
So,
till I tell you what my subject next week Thursday is. So stand by. Joy, you're next, hon.
Yeah, thank
You're
you for
muted.
having
you
me.
muted.
You're
Oh, I'm muted. Oh,
no,
oops.
you're
No,
good.
you're
You're good.
good
You're
now.
good.
You're good. You're
You're
good.
good.
I'm good. Okay. Thank you for
Yes.
inviting me for this. This topic is ongoing. It's not going to be, that's going to be some. I think the best thing that I think is educating, that we need to know, all levels of, what sexual harassment is. And also you have to respect everybody's personal boundaries, space, whatever you call it. And you have to act professional and in a respectful manner. Like, when you're at work, just don't, step somebody's boundaries. Be respectful in every step of the way, no matter what, in every aspect field, whatever professionalism. And the last thing I need to see is somebody to lose their job, which is not right. You're gonna, report something, but that didn't happen. And that usually, unfortunate, those cases usually do happen, I have to say. But if it happened, then that's, of course, that's a different story. As I say, um, I know that's a situation that some of us, are not, some people are not aware, and it's an ongoing situation. And of course, some people could, they didn't think of it, but some, it's a situation that it's never going to go away, and it's going to be there, for generations to come, no matter what field, as I say. But yeah, just it's educating every individual, man, woman, to make sure, you know in all levels of sexual harassment. Either you touch somebody, and you cannot touch, of course, inappropriate touching, or make a inappropriate statement, or of course, the worst part, showing um inappropriate, pictures. I will say something that's like nudity or whatever. That's considered sexual harassment also. And some people don't think that it is, because then you offend somebody, and it feels like, make this person feel small. But it happens a lot. It's unfortunate. And it's this is how I don't know how the work is. I don't know. I mean, some people could be born and decided to do something stupid without thinking. But thank you for having me. And this is a, interesting topic. And other than that, I don't know what else can I say. So
You've
that's
been
it.
terrific. Really appreciate you jumping on and giving some
Yeah, and
perspective.
you're
We
always
needed that
welcome to come
tonight.
back up anytime we have other subjects, so you know.
All right.
So
Thank
let
you.
me so okay, before I get over to the schedule, this is a ongoing subject. So like Paul said, Trey, Coach, enjoy something we have to be very careful with each other, with everybody. So make sure you don't put yourself in a situation that you might get yourself in trouble, even in handcuffs, because those bracelets are not attractive on you. So keep it up. So for our next couple of episodes, this Saturday we'll be talking about Game Over, the gaming crash. I gotta change the date on that. It's 24, but I changed it to 25. I feel like new gaming crash is coming, so we're gonna talk about it. Now, Coach, this is a topic you want to be on next week. So the dark side of destiny is X-rated, toxic to your brain. And of course, you know what I'm talking about, Coach, don't you? He's shaking his head right here. You son of a bitch. He's thinking you did it again. I personally think X-rated corn or whatever you want to call it is very poison to your brain. I think something we need to talk about and start pushing young men away from that stuff. That's my personal opinion. I'll leave it at that for now. So on the 11th, we're going to be talking about Voltron, the Legend of Heroes. And on the 16th, why women can body shame a man, but man can't body shame a woman. So that's where we're at. So, Paul, Mr. President, anything else you want to say before we go?
No, good here.
Coach?
Good show, man.
Joy?
No, I'm good.
As always, I am Ghost's partner. This was a Spartan HQ Network. As always, stay fresh, stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Have a good one. Good night.
Good night.